And there I was the girl from Suits.
This One's Wife, the vile trope aimed at Meghan. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We are familiar with the instances of This One's Wife, whereby she utilises PR puff pieces from certain publications to enable her to pursue the prime aims. They invariably pump up her reputation, talk about, for instance, how she skipped the Met Gala even though she wasn't invited, and pour scorn on those that seek to criticise her. It's a go-to method that she utilises in order to nullify threats to control and to promote her own reputation. In some instances, these publications actively ride to her defence, and they will invariably do so on a misguided basis because they entirely fail to understand what This One's Wife is. And there is an excellent example of this at play, whereby this time it's HuffPost, which exhibits a slavish devotion to trying to suggest that there are certain tropes and stereotypes which are harmful and ought not to be used. The idea is that certain words are used to describe women and that they are harmful. Undoubtedly that is the case. But what they fail to recognise is that these terms have their origins based upon fact. Now, they might not necessarily always be applied accurately, but they are, in relation to This One's Wife, something that they miss. And they miss the most obvious aspect, which is even stated right in front of their eyes, and completely gloss over it. What am I referring to? Well, the article that was written by Kimberly Richards makes reference to Megyn Kelly, who is accused of levelling a vile trope at This One's Wife. The headline states that she's levelled a vile trope at This One's Wife, and it goes deeper than it seems. The former Fox News host spewed an accusation at the Duchess of Sussex that experts say can be harmful to both men and women. Right-wing pundit Kelly recently unleashed an attack on This One's Wife, this time leaning on harmful gender stereotypes. Now, Kelly is no fan of This One's Wife. She regularly calls out her behaviour and is invariably accurate in what she states. Furthermore, she is allowed to express her opinion. During a segment on her show, Kelly vented to Barstool Sports owner Dave Portnoy, who was a guest on her show, about her frustrations with the Duchess of Sussex, who recently appeared on the Jamie Kern-Lima Show podcast. The former Fox News host, a known critic of the Duchess, began the segment by unleashing a fiery rant about This One's Wife, calling her a malignant narcissist, among a host of other insults and accusations. Now, many people regard being called a narcissist as an insult, but it's actually an accurate description that applies to a certain section of the population. And as you know, as a consequence of my extensive work based on the evidence, This One's Wife is indeed a narcissist. I don't use the term malignant narcissist because the malignancy can apply to any narcissist, because narcissists engage in malign behaviours, and therefore I don't use the term malignant narcissist as a form of categorisation, but other people do. The important aspect is that Kelly, quite rightly, identified her as a narcissist. While some people would regard that as an insult, it's actually a statement of fact. She also accused This One's Wife of marrying Prince Harry for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant, Kelly said, before claiming that the former actor had a vision board with Prince Harry on it. Now, this accusation that she married Prince Harry for money is accurate, although the HuffPost takes issue with it. Why is it accurate? Well, quite simply, it's borne out by the evidence of her behaviour, but moreover, it's borne out by the fact that as a narcissist, money is a common residual benefit to the narcissist. We've seen that she has a penchant for expensive tastes, that she racked up a huge clothing bill paid for by Prince Charles, now King Charles. We have seen that she likes the high life because as a somatic narcissist, that association with success is something that she can triangulate other people with for the purpose of controlling them and drawing fuel. Accordingly, where Kelly suggests that she has married for money, it is correct because it is within the context of a residual benefit that is sought by a narcissist. Yet HuffPost takes issue with this. They write, "This one's wife has been subjected to such attacks since her relationship with Harry became public in 2016. Note the emotive language, attack, rather than comment or criticism or observation. Months after their mutual friend set them up on a blind date. This one's wife had starred on the TV series Suits prior to meeting Harry, and many of the classist accusations about her being a social climber or marrying for money, as Kelly recently charged, have racist undertones." Okay, that's a bit of a stretch. So the evidence demonstrates that she has become elevated by virtue of his wealth. We know that as a somatic narcissist, money is important to her as a residual benefit. But this publication states that if you say that, if you point out that she is a social climber, i.e. a narcissist that uses people, or that she marries for money, i.e. a narcissist that pursues a residual benefit, somehow that's a racist undertone. I don't see any logic in that. It's simply saying this: if you criticise this one's wife, whether it's legitimate or illegitimate, you're a racist. That does not make any logical sense. Furthermore, if you criticise this one's wife based on logic, namely her behaviour, that has nothing to do with race. But once again, we have a publication that conveniently ignores all of this. Kelly swipes, the article continues, at this one's wife also highlight how accusing women of being gold diggers plays into sexist stereotypes. Well, it is correct that accusing women of being gold diggers does play into a sexist stereotype, but in certain instances it is accurate, and it is accurate when it is alleged against a narcissist. Geraldine Fortney, a licensed professional counsellor and regional clinic director with ThriveWorks, who specialises in women's issues, told HuffPost that Kelly's remark furthers the narrative that women cannot act without an ulterior motive, which is not the case. No. It's not being said that all women are gold diggers. What it is saying is that this woman is a gold digger. More accurately, this is a narcissist pursuing a residual benefit. But you'll notice that the article completely glosses over the accusation of her being a narcissist. Is this because they know that it's true and they don't want to embrace it? The fact is, the article instead focuses upon the use of the term marrying for money and saying by accusing her of a gold digger, you're playing into stereotypes, and also it's got racist undertones. This counsellor tells us it dismisses the fact that everyone, even women who marry men of privilege, is capable of marrying for love. Well, that is true. However, again, if this counsellor understood narcissism, she would know that the narcissist does never marry for love because the narcissist is incapable of that. She continues by stating this is a long-standing sexist trope that discredits women as incapable of love without strings attached, and also makes us believe that women are unable to have success on their own. We also don't hear much feedback from the media about Prince Harry marrying this one's wife because she's beautiful and was successful in her own right. His intentions are often questioned as a male in society. Well, the reason he married her was because basically she let him do anything, and he was ensnared for reasons that I've explained elsewhere. Anita Chilpala, a licensed marriage and family therapist and founder of the practice Relationship Reality 312, said that she thought it was in poor taste for Kelly to make assumptions and allegations about someone else's motives for getting married. Well, again, no. The evidence demonstrates that this one's wife is a narcissist, and therefore that informs us in relation to the way that she behaves. Like Fortney, she emphasised that this one's wife had found success in her own right prior to meeting Harry. The extent of that success is overstated. She was in a minor cable programme with a minor part. Naturally, she likes to portray it as being the star of the show. She wasn't. And she earned decent money, admittedly, but her contract was coming to an end. So she found some success, but nowhere near on the level that she's obtained as a consequence of her marriage to Prince Harry. And once again, if you understand that she is a narcissist and understand what that means, This therapist and this counsellor, their observations fall to the wayside because they're inaccurate and irrelevant with regard to the behaviour of a narcissist. The article continues, and I needn't go into further detail about it because it's more or less repeating the point. But the fact is that what they do is they fail to address the fact that she's a narcissist. They fail to address Kelly's statement that this one's wife is a narcissist. Instead, they focus on the stereotype of the gold digger. Interestingly, Kelly Chilpala rather condescendingly states that Kelly could be using her platform to talk about how for centuries women have been financially dependent on men and lack the economic autonomy to have power and control over their own lives. She could be having conversations about what makes marriages work, what can help women succeed and feel good about themselves, when research shows that women are much less satisfied in marriages than men. We as a society have to do better and help support marriages. The divorce rate is high enough. Well, that's all fair sentiment, but yet again, it completely misses the point that the criticisms of this one's wife are based upon her narcissism. And this publication, in riding to the defence of this one's wife and attacking Kelly, fail wholeheartedly and single-handedly to address the fact that she is a narcissist, and that is what is behind her behaviours. Thus, they say that Kelly is engaged in a vile trope. No, she hasn't. She simply called out the truth of what this one's wife is by both branding her a narcissist and making reference to her marrying Harry for money. Those are both accurate statements. And it would behoove these two individuals to understand more about the fact that this one's wife is a narcissist and realise that narcissists cause huge problems in marriages. If Anita Chilpala is so concerned about the sanctity of marriage, she perhaps ought to do well by understanding why narcissists marry, why narcissists cause so many divorces and problems in relation to child custody, etc. In other words, she would do well to embrace my work in that regard. Once again, another instance of people failing to recognise what this one's wife is and launching a crusade attacking somebody who's actually accurate about what this one's wife is. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.